Hi and welcome back to our video tutorials. So in our introductory tutorial, I talked about three main methods to extract data from Sensible TableView. And in the introductory video, I went into depth explaining the first one, which is object binding. In this tutorial, I will be explaining another method that's called key binding method. So I've started here by creating an application that's very similar to the one I created in the introductory video. So it's basically just a navigation-based application with a table view model created in the root view controller. And if I go to the implementation file, I've created an instance here of the model, created a section, and here I've created a text field, and notice that the declaration is very similar to the one I've declared in the introductory video, but instead of binding it to an object, it actually binds itself to a simple text key. And the key can actually be any string you want, just any descriptive unique string that you want to attach to the value of this cell. And here I specified that the text field must be present, it's a required value, and just added the cell to the section. Next, I created a numeric text field cell. Again, the bound key here is number. The initial value is null, there is no initial value. And here are some interesting validation options. The first validation option is not to allow any float values. And here I specified the minimum value of 5 and a maximum value of 10. And again, added the numeric cell to the section. Finally, I just created a slider cell, initialized it with a value of 0.5, a switch cell, and initialize it with true for the switch on value. And finally, I added my section to the table model. Also, in the view controllers destructor, I released my table view model. And if you notice, I've created a method of the SC table view model delegate that's called value changed for row at index path, and it simply fires whenever any value, any cell value changes. And the reason I'm including this method is that I just need to log the values for the dictionary of keys that we've actually bound our cell values to here. And notice that for this to work, I'm gonna go back to the header file here. For this to work, I had to conform to the SC table view model delegate. So going back, also notice that here I'm asking the table model whether the values are valid or not, and printing data is valid if they are valid, and data is invalid if they're not. So let's run and see how this is gonna come along. Let me just open the console. Okay, very well. So here I have the 4 cells that I've created, and let me start by just changing the slider cell here. And perfect. The value of the slider have actually changed in the model key values dictionary that's provided by the table model. And notice that here data is invalid, and this is because I specified the text value as a required value. So let me just start by typing some values here. And as you notice, the values here are changing and the data is now valid. Again, the text value is changing to reflect whatever I've entered into this cell. Now, let me try and enter some values in the numeric text field. I'll start by just typing 7. And notice that data is valid and 7 appears here. So let me try 3. And although the value have changed to 3, but now data is invalid. The model, the table view model, is informing me that data now is invalid since 3 is less than the maximum value I specified. So again, 7, and this time I'll try to enter a floating point value and see what's going to happen. So 0.3, and notice again data is invalid. So let me just fix that back. And finally, I'll change the value of the switch, and expectedly the value here I've changed to off or 0. So that's it with, again, a handful set of lines. I've created a set of user interface elements that are actually able to automatically set their values to whatever keys I've specified, and automatically create a dictionary that I can save to a plist, that I can just do whatever I want with. And all this just took me a couple of minutes. Thank you very much for joining me today. Goodbye.